This video is brought to you by Dark Dice, the award-winning live play horror D&D podcast produced by the folks at Fool and Scholar Productions. Take the improvisational storytelling you love from Adventurers Nigh and blanket it with a dark and foreboding atmosphere featuring award-winning sound design and music from legendary composers. And then layer in a mix of first-time players, including the likes of Brundlefly himself, Jeff Goldblum. And what you have is Dark Dice. Do you seek humor? The short 30 to 45 minute episodes keep the tension high and the thrills coming. Each season is a new self-contained story, such as Domain of the Nameless God, which follows a handful of adventurers trying to track down a town's missing children, all while having to deal with a doppelganger that's infiltrated the group, slowly taking them out one by one. So what are you waiting for? Dim the lights, turn up the volume, and begin your Dark Dice adventures today. Available for free on YouTube or your podcast service of choice.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Windbreakers podcast, another Monday's Windbreaker podcast. I'm Yahtzee as usual, not as usual. Jack's here because Marty's off sick.
It happens.
Although Jack's sick as well, so
it's true, just slightly.
I guess we know who the team player is, and also Jay's here as usual.
Hello, I'm not ill. But that's because I eat too many throat sweets. I'm immortal.
Yes, that's how it works. And this week on the Windbreakers podcast, we want to take a moment to reflect on what a complicated hobby video gaming is and how that sort of thing is something we all sort of take for granted sometimes.
Yes.
Jack, this was something that was on your mind lately.
This was inspired by a conversation I had over the weekend. Me and a gamer friend were discussing gaming, as one does, when a non-gamer came up and wanted to get into the conversation. And we started to realize the immense barrier to entry that video gaming in general has, as compared to another hobby like watching a movie, right? And we started to do like the time and cost breakdown of like, okay, let's assume someone has the internet and has a nice TV, a nice modern TV. How long and what price until they can watch a movie? 5 minutes and $20, maybe?
Yeah.
Possibly. It depends what streaming software they've got installed,
Right.
I suppose.
Right. But if they want to play any video game, they need another device, they need a controller, they need a game, they need to log into an account, hundreds of dollars and hours worth of time just to play a game. It's an amazing leap as far as a barrier to entry is concerned.
100%.
And is it worth it?
No.
Well, obviously we all think so.
Well, yes. But and that's just not even getting into having to learn how to play video games, which is another thing we take for granted a lot. As a great Dara O'Brien routine once said, gaming's like the only form of storytelling narrative media with a skill flaw.
Yes.
Yeah, right. You could not experience the story because you're bad at the game.
Yeah.
Right.
But even like the basics, even like teaching someone how to use dual analog sticks can take a while.
I remember doing that for the first time. Like,
Yeah.
picking up, of going from like PS1 to the PS2 controller and having dual analog sticks and just it being a really weird sensory thing. Like, it felt weird to move my thumbs that way. I didn't really get it. And I was like, I'm never going to get used to this.
Right.
You get it.
I remember the first time I tried to play a first-person shooter on the PS2. Red Faction, it was. For some reason, jump was bound to the shoulder buttons. They hadn't quite figured all this out.
Yeah,
right.
That's,
and so like theoretically, even nowadays, there's a kind of a universal language as far as controller layout and as far as like, getting people there, but still even just getting to that point of playing a game. And then of course the vast amount of genres, the vast amount of game systems within game systems. If we're just comparing this to other entertainment hobbies, it is so different than picking up a book or watching a movie. It is and I think like those of us who have been gaming for so long, and especially those of us who are in the gaming media, really take for granted how easy it is for us and how complicated it is, dare I say, for the normies.
Yeah. 100%.
Well, to take a dissenting viewpoint, who cares? Who needs all those normies muscling in on our industry and causing even more of those terrible AAA games to be made that are designed for broadest possible appeal?
Right.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because tutorialization and how you get people into games is obscenely important because, like you said, Jack, a lot of people take it for granted on how easy it is for us to just pick these things up. But, you put the latest game in my mum's hands, even though she plays a lot of games, she plays a lot of mobile games and she plays a lot of VR games. Doesn't play console games or PC at all. So controlling a first-person shooter would be very alien to her, and she would struggle. But the same for VR, right?
It's weird to think of VR as something that's easy to pick up compared to every other kind of gaming.
I think once you get past that initial step, it's quite intuitive. Point at thing, press button, right?
I mean, talk me through this, Jay. I mean, how do you get into VR while sidestepping all the rest of gaming? I assumed like once you've gotten to grips with like FPSing and shit, or using a standard controller, VR is like a step up from that. I mean, there are plenty of people who know how to play games standard.
I think it was like that,
but don't really develop VR legs.
As Jack was explaining, like say you wanted to get into VR 7 years ago or so, you would need a powerful computer. You would need to then hook an external device to that and then go through new control schemes and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But now with like the Quest 3 and stuff like that, I've spoken about this before, but my mother just saw an advert for like a fitness thing on the Quest 3 and was like, oh, that would be cool. I hate going outside. I'll get that. And she doesn't need a PC. She can use it by itself. And it introduced her to, now she doesn't do any fitness stuff. And all she does is play horror games. Like, she loves it. That's all she does.
Absolutely. Well, and the Meta Quest has done a really great job as far as lowering the barrier to entry. And I'm going to agree with Jay here that controlling a VR game is significantly easier than going through the Excel spreadsheet of menus in a regular game.
Yeah.
I suppose. You still have to tackle an analog stick if you want to do anything more than stay rooted to the spot.
And it's like the stuff about like taking stuff for granted just comes down to like UI as well, in the sense of a lot of people, you'll be surprised how they don't understand that a cog represents settings, or within those settings how to navigate to a specific window. And then you get into different genres, right? I wanted to ask you guys this. What do you think within the gaming sphere is the most complicated genre to dive into? Right, because I think there's a few contenders.
Like from scratch, like knowing nothing about video games.
Yeah, I guess, or just like you have a basic level understanding of what games are and how they function. Like, okay, you can turn the volume down in the settings. That's like the extent of what you can do. From that point, what is the most complicated, or I would think there'll be a few genres here, but what's the most complicated genre to break into? What's got the highest skill floor?
Well, I know what you want me to say. You want me to say something like a strategy game or grand strategy, but no, because I think anything where you can just click on the thing on the screen with your mouse is a lot easier to pick up than something like dual analog sticks third-person game.
Guess there's the difference between picking up and then being good at. Like, I could play an RTS, I'll be shit at it, but I can play it, right?
Well, and I was going to say something like a League of Legends, something that's multiplayer, that has like, this built-in fan base that has like its own meta thing happening where you'll just be turned off so quickly because everyone else is so good at it.
See, you've both raised good points here. Is the complexity based on interaction or knowledge? Because both with a MOBA and an RTS, I reckon you can play them very easily. But actually being good at them and playing them correctly is extremely difficult and takes like years of play. to kind of master.
How about Dark Souls? How about starting from a starting point of never having played a video game with the dual analog stick controller? What stages do you need to go through before you can like get out of the opening cell in Dark Souls?
Well, first, you need to buy a console.
Yeah.
So what console? So if you're going to play Dark Souls, what console are you buying?
Let's say I've heard it came out on the PS3, so I'm going to buy a PS3.
Old school. My God.
You're going to buy a used PlayStation 3. This is what you're saying.
I'm pretending to be a completely ignorant person. Someone said, "Hey, you should play Dark Souls." I'm like, "Okay, I'll do my research." I said, "Dark Souls was a PS3 game." Okay, I'm going to buy a PS3.
Okay, so your first obstacle will be plugging it into your modern television. As I don't think the PS3 had an HDMI.
I need to check this. If you Google Dark Souls, what's the first shop that comes up?
It must have had a.
I think it only had a component.
It says Dark Souls 3 comes up before as a shop, like the Steam shop, before anything else.
Oh, okay. And Eric is telling me it did have HDMI 1.4. Okay, so I'll relate to that.
Okay, so you can plug your PS3 in, and you've stuck the disc in, assuming you've gone through the manual for the PS3 and figured out how disk drives work.
Yes.
Does it need to install on the PS3 if memory serves? I don't think so.
I don't believe so.
Okay, so someone who has never played a video game before holds a PlayStation 3 controller and you want to move your character, I'm going to guess that they're going to...
Whoa. We haven't got there yet.
We haven't got there.
We're at the opening menu, and the menu says press any button. And then you'll be like, which one's the any button?
Boo, Yahtzee. I boo that joke.
The height of comedy.
Yeah.
I guess Okay. Ooh, here's a UI question. Is there something in the PS3 menu that tells you that the X button is the confirm button?
I don't know.
Potentially.
Assuming you knew nothing about video games, could you even use the menu on the PlayStation 3 is my question. Let's make this baby time.
I'd have to see the UI again. I have memories of in the bottom right there being a X confirm circle back.
I want to say, I think with the PS3, if you put the disc in, it'll just boot the game automatically. Don't quote me on that. I think that's what it did.
I guess
here we go. There's the UI.
There's the UI. So Eric, if you can see that clearer, is there a little thing that says X to confirm?
No.
Circle to go back. So by the way, this is much like one of my favorite movies, or Arrival. This is like not only are you not speaking the same language, you have no context for what their language means.
I think people pick things up really quick, right? A lot of the times in UI, we want things really signposted, and that's the best way of doing it. But I think a lot of people, especially with forward and backwards interactions, I think people pick them up very, very fast. A lot of people don't really have a problem with trying to navigate to that. But you raised a really good point, Jack, which was when you get into the game, like you've made your character, you understand how to go in and select your class.
We figured out how menus work. Yes, here we are. We've got two analog sticks. We've never used them to move things or look around in our fucking lives.
I think you're using the D-pad. I think the average person are using the D-pad. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, hey, those are directions. I know what that means.
Yeah, exactly. I've used those on my computer before.
Yeah, and then you'd move to the master key or fucking drink an Estus or some shit.
Now I want to say one of these tutorials that the player is looking at here, one of them probably says left stick to move, but how quickly does it tell you?
You have to move over to it before you can.
I don't think there is a movement one. I'm not sure there is a movement.
I don't know,
because that's assumed. That's assumed that you know. I mean, Mario 64, they didn't assume you knew to use the second analog stick to move the camera, so they had to do a whole tutorial talking you through the whole thing. And games these days don't take the time to do that.
Well, you mean
No.
the C buttons, not the second analog stick, because there's only one on the Nintendo 64, Yahtzee.
Oh, I never had an N64. I was a grown-up.
It was very famous for having one analog stick.
One analog stick.
In
and
the center.
The yellow C buttons are what controlled the camera.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Even so.
Point of order.
No, yeah, it did have to sit down and be like, hey, this is how you purposefully move the camera, which is very obtuse. But
but then it's like learning to type in a certain way. Like how hard do you press the stick to look to move in the direction you want to look?
Yeah.
How hard do you press the backspace button to delete the thing you just typed?
This is really kind of serendipitous because my video that came out today, it talks about this, like genre conditioning and how you can have conventions in a genre that are assumed, like doing certain attacks and holding buttons to do charged attacks and stuff like that. These are assumed things in genre, and then as designers we can implement them to lower the barrier to entry and allow people to get to a flow state quicker. But what we're talking about is just that, but for gaming. Like, how the fuck do you move? How do you attack? How is it now the player has moved in Dark Souls? Now what is their first thought of, like, oh, there's a hollow in front of me, I want it dead. What do I do? Start? Do I press start to initiate combat? What do I do?
Start hitting. Start hitting. Why isn't this working? I love that idea.
Start moving.
Start moving. Start hitting. This game's easy. Just one button.
Play.
Oh, wait. Is that the Dark Souls manual, Eric?
Oh, remember when games had manuals?
I miss manuals. I used to read manuals on the way home from the shops. My mum waiting to get home to play the games. Oh,
QWERTY keyboard, nice.
Is it fair though to pick on video games for this? Because when you consider that you can't read a book until you know how to read, I mean that's a pretty complicated process. Learning how to read, or
if only
the
we had some sort of
institution
that helped guide people to learn how to read. Wait a minute.
Bish bash bosh. That's what we need. We need a university of learning how to play video games for old people.
Ooh, I like it. Right. Well, you are correct that, reading obviously takes a lot of learning and a lot of time, but that's part of or theoretically part of everybody's life.
Well, I would argue that everyone has a computer. Everyone has to use the internet these days, to the point that having the internet is now considered a basic human necessity, like water.
I would agree with that, by the way.
Is playing Dark Souls a basic necessity?
I would argue that being able to interface with machines and computers is an essential skill to learn in modern society.
Yeah, and it's taught at schools, right? I remember being at school when I was in primary, which is whatever you Yanks call little school.
Grade school.
Grade school.
Elementary school.
And I remember, and you had this as well, Yahtzee, in the sense of you had computer time, right? Like you had time to go on the PC.
Yeah. Every now and again, it would be your turn to have a go on the PC where you'd play some Oregon Trail adjacent bullshit game, or you'd type out like something you'd written to type on a keyboard.
Yeah, we would have an entire classes dedicated to IT and learning how programs worked, how to interface with a computer, how to code in HTML, like very, very basic stuff, but enough to be able to actually go into the real world. And if a job required you to go on a computer, you had the basic knowledge to do so. Why isn't there that for game controllers and VR? Fuck.
Yeah, we didn't do HTML. My high school IT class just covered Visual Basic of all things.
Well, I do think that's just an age difference.
Possibly.
But you can't necessarily have like introduction to video game interaction, also because in general there's too many. Like, what are you doing? Are you doing PlayStation? Are you doing PC? Are you doing Xbox? Are you doing Switch? Are you doing modern? Are you doing retro? Are you doing first person shooters? Are you doing side scrollers? Are you doing RTSs? What are you doing?
Then you go to like, what would you pick? Okay, so let's say my mum is like, VR games are cool, and I'm like, hey, there is an entire like universe of games that are much better than this that you would adore if you just like gave them the chance and learn. Not specifically for my mum, but for someone in your life who wants to get into games, what games would you pick as an introductory
Didn't
game
we go
to
over this
just gaming?
like 2 weeks ago? Like our top 5 games for getting someone into gaming?
I remember that. Am I having a stroke?
Don't you fucking gaslight me, Jermaine.
Chat, did this happen? Am I having a stronk? Do we need to call a bondulance?
Yes, a week ago we did our Desert Island Discs games, and a week before that, partially what inspired the Desert Island Discs episode, we were nominating our 5 games we would put on the curriculum.
Oh yeah, the syllabus. We did do this.
Yes, figuring out video games to teach people how to play video games.
Okay, well, everyone go back and watch that episode. I wrote a list and everything.
Hey, here we go. Jack wasn't there for that. Jack, what 5 games would you put on the syllabus of how to play video games like elementary school?
Super Mario Brothers and Mario 64. Easy.
Again, someone put 2 Mario games in their top 5.
They defined genres.
How can
you not put the defining genre game? You have to put Mario. What?
Mario is pretty much the only mainline 3D platformer franchise that exists in AAA games right now.
Yeah.
3D platforming is not a popular genre at the moment.
But
apart from the game that won Game of the Year.
What game won Game of the Year?
Astrobot. But that's only because it was it's only made a splash because it was. It only made a splash because it was so unusual, and that's my point.
You have to include Mario 64 in this list because you don't have to worry about moving the camera, and so that is easing them into the dual analog stick of 3D.
Counterpoint. But like Mario 64 controls like ass.
I disagree heartily. You are incorrect.
And
wrong,
but also doesn't represent like
smelly.
they'll be like, oh, I really like Mario 64. Let's go play Dark Souls, and they'll just be like, what? This doesn't control like Mario.
It doesn't control like Mario, but it kind of does. You are moving a character in 3D space. The left
with a single analog stick.
The left analog stick in Dark Souls works the exact same way it does in Mario. That is a building block to get them into 3D games in general.
He's thinking 2 steps ahead. That's what he's doing.
Boom. So you have to introduce them you have to go back in time and walk them through the steps because that's what we did.
So you got 2D for your Mario Bros. You got Mario 64. Yeah. What are your other 3 to introduce people? Yeah, right?
Right. You need some sort of first-person shooter.
That was my thinking. I nominated Halo in my list as a nice sort of approachable first-person shooter.
Just dislike it so much as a game.
Well, I think Nick's going to appear in the chat very soon.
Yeah, here he comes.
Nick knows how I feel.
What don't you like about Halo?
The thing I don't like about it is it's just so generic.
Well, there you go.
So no, you might be right. And then my guess is you would need some sort of like Civilization or SimCity type of game, like the concept of like using a mouse in games. What do they call that viewpoint? Like God view or
top down or isometric?
Yeah. So you need some sort of game to show them that, and then for the 5th one. What other genre? What are we missing? We got 3D, we got 2D, we got first-person shooter, we got SimCity. What other way can you look at a game and interact with a game?
Well, I had Civilization.
First of all,
I had Civilization.
If you're not playing Donkey Konga, you're doing something wrong.
Minecraft.
It is a good pick, Minecraft. For build, there's lots of different. There's menu interactions. There's first-person navigation. There's building within the world.
There's actually first-person shooting. Like that could be someone's introduction to the first-person genre in general. Yeah, I like that a lot.
One of your picks in general, wasn't it? Yeah, it's like
my picks were Minecraft. My picks were Minecraft, Halo, Civilization,
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto Online. What was my other one? I think it was Return of the Obra Dinn.
Yeah, potentially.
Why would you make people so sad? Why would you make people so sad and upset?
Well, that was an introduction to the way narrative can interweave with interaction in the wonderful world of video games.
Yeah. It does unfold really well.
That's fair.
It's tough.
That's fair. Well, and so like I'm thinking of this as more of a way to introduce people to these language keystones or language tentpoles of like what is how do you move in a first person game? Something like Minecraft is great because you could even put someone in creative mode and there's no danger. They just get to explore without the fear of any negative repercussions.
Well, there's a reason why it's so popular with the kiddies.
Yes.
I suppose.
And then that can lead them into an entire genre of like, oh, but I know the easy language of first person shooters. I know how to move. I know how to turn my head. I know how to interact with menus. I think that's great.
Yeah, it's tough because then you bounce into, okay, well, if we're doing stuff where we're interacting with mice, well, are they playing this first person shooter with a controller or are they playing it with mouse and keyboard?
Right.
And then you're like, oh, how do I move with a keyboard? Oh, no, you don't use the arrows. You use WASD.
Yes. Why would you think you'd use the arrows? Jesus. Is this your first day of video game school?
Oh, it is. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, watching console gamers for the first time try and use a PC game is really interesting because they just don't know how to do it. And the act of having their fingers on WASD looks really uncomfortable.
Yeah,
and it's not nice. But like for anyone who plays PC games all the time, my hand naturally goes there whenever I put my hands on a keyboard, like every time.
But PC gamers switching to controllers, also, you can see a similar process. Trying to figure out analog sticks, which is a concept entirely alien to the keyboard and mouse warrior.
Absolutely.
It's tough. But like
absolutely. Well, and I guess this is all part of the general thesis, the general topic, which is like, let's all just take a moment and recognize that our beloved hobby is complicated as fuck.
Oh, I recognized that pretty well when I was trying to show my kid how to play Mario. Because she figured out push the stick to move. She figured out press the button to jump. But when the game calls upon you to push the stick and press the button at the same time to jump in a direction to get over something, that's where I had to keep like repeatedly talking her through this over and over again.
Like you can do both of them at the same time. That's interesting how her mind separated the functions. It's a really interesting thought process.
Like I'd give her the controller and said, "This is how you hold it with both hands." And like 5 minutes later, I'd look over and she was holding it like vertically. Just moving the stick, holding it with one hand and just moving the stick with the other.
And again, it comes back to like that is how her brain naturally wanted to do that because she's focused on the movement, right? And she wants to hold it. Like it is alien how they're actually used.
But then she started getting into playing fucking putt-putt and Fatty Bear on my wife's PC. And just using a mouse to click on things, she picked that up in a snap. We can just leave her playing that by herself now. Yeah,
there's like this weird problem. I can't remember who did it, so apologies if you ever see this and this was you. Oh no, I think it was Pirate Software. It spoke about how most kids, when they were demoing their game, they had a PC set up and they had like a controller set up, but most young people who came up wanted to interact with it on a touchscreen. Like kids are so now used to doing stuff on iPads and phones that the idea of holding a thing and interacting with it is very alien and weird. And they just want to be able to touch it because touchscreens are very intuitive. I want to touch and move a thing, click on a thing, I just press it. Which I think the mouse is just that, but with another interaction cost.
It's just
so it picks up really easily.
Just with a extra step.
Yeah. Is that the bear game?
Is that or was that I think that was a point and click adventure game.
Yeah.
Yes, that was what I was talking about. The the games my kid can play on the wife's computer because there's all these old, really kid-friendly shit like Putt-Putt and Pajama Sam that came out in the 90s.
Do they have goals? Because that's a question I have for games that are designed for getting
for
people
example,
in. Like, what is the goal?
for example, the goal of Putt Putt Saves the Zoo is to save the zoo.
Okay, well, I didn't know. You just called it Putt Putt, so I didn't.
Okay. Well, one of the Putt Putt games is called Putt Putt Saves the Zoo, and in it, you play a character called Putt Putt who has to save a zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that makes more sense when you give me the full context of the name. What's the bear? This bear one, is this Putt Putt or is this bear?
That's Fatty Bear, and Fatty Bear's job is to get the birthday party ready for when their owner wakes up in the morning.
Of course, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because they can't be too complicated in goals and outcomes, and also repercussions. Like, how do you punish a new player really hard? Like, Dark Souls is one very kind of interesting to control because it's a Japanese game and controls kind of weird anyway.
Well,
but also the repercussions for failure are huge.
Yeah, I mean, the point of adventure games, if you fail, you just don't proceed. That's all there is.
There is something I do need to address happening in the chat right now. One of our chatters is very upset because I have referred to gaming as a hobby. We all have. By the way, playing video games is a hobby. I don't want to get.
They saying it's not.
Well, they're saying watching movies isn't a hobby. Like taking in art is not a hobby. And friend, it absolutely is. A hobby is an activity done regularly in one's leisure time. And if your activity is taking in art, then it's your hobby, friend. Like this is, I don't want to get like bogged down in semantics, but video games are art, and taking in the art of video games in my free leisure time is my hobby.
Although if you're writing a profile for an online dating site and you list your hobbies as watching movies and playing video games, everyone will think you're the most boring cunt in the universe.
Oh, that's why I haven't gotten too many replies. That's fair.
Hold
on for a second. Let me switch.
I dabbled in online dating in my bachelor days. You know what drove me mad was when the lady's profile would say, "What do you like doing?" And they'd just say, "Anything fun." And I just go, like half of them said that. I like that.
Bye.
Sorry. I'm afraid we're not compatible because, of course, I only like doing things that are tedious slogs.
See, when I was doing that stuff, it was like, now we're getting into dating type things. I would, if I didn't see anything relating to gaming, because gaming is such a huge part of who I am. I taught game design. I play games all the time. I make games. Like I'm games media now. Yes. If somebody isn't into games, like I don't think I could be with them because they'd at least have to have like a passing interest in it, so that when I inevitably spoke about it 90% of the time, they would actually engage.
But you don't put it on your dating profile because it bores people. You wanna say, my hobbies include taking long walks and indoor rock climbing because you went like once.
No. Here's the thing: you got to weed out those. I'm fighting against you. You got to weed out those people. I'm not lying. I'm not interested in walks. Come and sit with me on my couch.
Well, you wouldn't get many hits on most online dating sites I've been on.
That tracks.
The success I've seen, or like not for me, but like for people I'd see on there, would be when you put a gaming thing, don't put I like games or anything like that and put a controller emoji because that's just cringe. Put an obscure gaming reference, like to like a specific IP. Like, because I remember this when I was at uni, the one girl I matched with at one point, she had like a World of Warcraft reference in her bio, and I was like, yes, clearly understands and likes WoW. We're gonna get on. And it's super obscure, so do that.
So you'd say something like, my hobby is gathering parties and venturing forth.
There you go.
Because
the normies might assume you're talking about cocktail parties.
I'm an avid indoorsman. So in any case, sorry to get us sidetracked. Obviously, that's what happens on podcasts. I just needed to address that because, definitions of words, very important.
So, yes. Well, to get back on topic, yes, I think we've all appreciated what a high barrier to entry video gaming is. But what's your view? Viewers, this is the time where we read out your super chats and figure out what you've all got to say on the subject. At least ostensibly.
A lot of them.
Lance Verity says, welcome to the Green Gang. Welcome very much, Lance Verity. Dr. Theo gives $5 and says, can't wait for Adventures Nigh Season 4. I wonder what horrible things Jack will do to Sigmar's hands this time. I think his hands are getting a reprieve.
Oh, I forget. Oh, yeah, I remember all the stuff I did to Sigmar this season.
Yes. Beloved Fool gives $5. Says, especially complicated when you have a backlog bigger than your future, but don't feel like starting any new games you bought but never played.
Yeah.
Always the same. The same.
Close to 1,000 games on Steam.
Yeah, I'm sort of between games at the moment. I just can't decide. I've been trying to do hardcore runs because I've been experimenting with doing a Black Mesa hardcore run.
Yeah, your Black Mesa ones, yeah.
Which came to an end over the weekend, incidentally.
Oh no!
Because of the fucking jumping puzzle during surface tension.
No.
That'll do it.
This time the judge got fucked over by the physics engine and dropped off a cliff. And that was the end of Gordon Freeman's heroic resistance.
Yikes.
Mikhail Manfredo gives $4.99 and says, yo, DJ Benny Ramblematic, Jack and Ludo Chris, please don't ever call us that again. If you could travel to any country in the world, all expenses paid, which and why?
Oh my god.
Canada, but only if it's one way. I hear Canada's doing pretty well these days.
New Zealand. I've got family there, and I've always wanted to go.
Probably Japan. Never been. I think that would be a lot of fun.
I have two friends in Japan as we speak. I was meant to be going with them, but I couldn't.
That happens.
I've heard it's a very clean country. If you like clean places.
Just seems like a place with a lot of input. Just whoa, a lot of lights.
Speaking of clean, the area where I live, I was taking Ludo for a walk the other day, and she, as a dog does, shit herself. So I picked her shit up, had a poo bag, and I was like, okay, I'll walk around and look for a bin. Did the loop of walking around the blocks. Mm-hmm. Not a single bin. Not a single bin. And my mum was like, because she was with me, she was like, there are no bins anywhere, but I cannot see a single piece of litter. It was really clean. It was nice, but also shit in hand.
Yeah, there's no bins around my neighborhood unless you drop it in someone's bin because they left it out to be emptied.
Yeah, usually they have bins in public areas, like in a public park, but not just out on the streets or anything.
But there's a grocery store and an alcohol liquor store and a complex of stores near where we live.
If there's no bins there, that's unusual.
There aren't anywhere. It's very weird.
Bins out the front of my local Whole Foods.
Yeah.
It's strange.
Mm.
You never know how people will react to you popping your dog poo bags in their bins that they've left out front. Because I've been walking down suburban streets and with my bag of poo, and I've seen a neighbor come out and their bins will be out and they'll go, hey, pop your poo in here. I don't mind. And speaking for myself, I wouldn't mind if anyone dropped poo in my bins as they were passing. Help yourself. It's a bin. Whatever goes in there is void as far as I'm concerned. But you never know. You never know who's going to be weird about it.
Some people's going to be really protective of their garbage. Absolutely.
Yeah. Dr. Theo gives $5 and says, do you think VR would be easier to get into if you've never played a game if it's designed to use hand tracking instead of controllers?
Yes.
Well, that's always going to be shaky. I mean, they tried to do that with the Oculus, the Quest 3. Because if you don't have the controllers, you can just pinch your fingers in front of your view and that'll bring the menu up. And you can touch the buttons with your fingers, but it's a little bit jank.
But
in an ideal world, it would be better. But.
You would need to teach them then that pinching means that, and that might be more complicated than just pressing a goddamn button.
And if you're using if you're playing a game like Half-Life Alyx or Behemoths, half the time your hands aren't in your view because you're reaching for the holsters or you're reloading or something.
Yeah. So I guess I would prefer buttons. I would think buttons would be easier.
Yes. Well, everyone has got to use buttons, even if all they've ever used is a microwave.
Ooh, take that, big VR.
But yeah, controllers still have analog sticks, and we've been over that. Fungus Finder gives $2 and says, Jack and Marty need to stop drinking from the toilet. It's not toilet drinking, it's just the change of seasons. That's what brings all the icks out. I had a sore throat last week.
I spend all my day shouting, and it's like I gotta shout.
I'm saying this to Jess like yesterday that for all the time I've been in the States now, I haven't got ill.
Oh God, you better knock on wood like real dang fast, friend.
And then last night I went to bed and I felt really sick, and I had to stay up till like 4 a.m. And she was like, "Shouldn't have said it, bitch.
You shouldn't have said it."
Yep,
it happens. Yeah, you see people, you get sick. It's that time of year. Well, we're fine. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Box D gives $5 and says, on the fringes of the hobby, normies can play iRacing if they've got a wheel and have driven a car. Former pilots can get a sim rig for flight sim. That's not really low barrier to entry.
That is in fact
a pilot.
A significantly higher barrier to entry is pay probably hundreds of extra dollars for specialty equipment for ones of games.
Yeah. I had a friend who had like a full-on driving rig. They had the chair, they had pedals, they had the wheel, all sort of like screwed together into a single unit. It was a nice custom rig, but it took him some bloody work.
Oh yeah.
Which, by the way, also, like if that's your game, way to go.
Fuck yeah, go for it. Also, it's like understanding goals. Like we take for granted that when you load into Mario Kart, that we understand what the goal is. Just like as people, win race, right? Stay within the lines, go around track.
Sure.
But like some people might be completely, separate to that and not understand what they need to do. The game doesn't tell you win race, right? Like come first. It just assumes you know.
That just blew my mind, Jay. The game does not tell you to win race.
Well,
that's because 99.9% of people know.
It doesn't tell you to win race. Have we been playing Mario Kart wrong all these years?
Yeah, I think so. I think
the implication of calling something a game is that it's something you're trying to win.
Now we get into the definition of game. Like what counts as a game?
Right,
Does it have to have a fail state and a win state?
Yeah.
Well, let's not get into those weeds. Blank number 14 months in the Green Gang says, tried explaining MOBAs once. It made them dumber.
It is the worst genre. The MOBAs are probably the only genre where you pretty much need a friend who already knows how to play it to get into it, because you need someone to teach you how to play properly. But then the chicken or the egg, what came first?
You could have someone to get
players who know what they're doing.
They go up to the gatekeepers and jerk back a thumb and say, it's okay, he's with me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm teaching him.
Absolutely.
Beloved Fool gives $2. Says, thoughts on Rasputin Gaming for a non-gamer series? I don't know what that is. Anyone?
Is that a YouTube channel?
Okay.
Is it?
I assume. Anyway,
it's a YouTube channel.
You never learn much without getting your hands on games yourself, I'd say.
A lot of people they were shouting out their own channel.
I guess there's a lot of people who just like to spectate. I mean, there's a whole genre of literature now that's just people reading about someone playing a video game. Lit RPG, it's called.
Oh, I think.
All those Japanese isekais about someone who gets hit by a bus and then gets teleported into a video game world where there's actual video game mechanics and they have to manage their stats and stuff. That's a genre now. It's called Lit RPG.
Great.
Each to their own, man.
I think it has never been easier to get into gaming as there's so much access to information, like watching Let's Plays or like watching breakdowns, having like there are online guides of, oh, here's what you can do to start getting into Dark Souls. Here's how you do the infinite soul glitch so that you can be overpowered. You know, like,
yeah,
we have that information, which is great.
Peter gives 4.99 and says, finally played through Obra Dinn. Incredible. The first half felt more difficult than a Souls game, but eventually started to come together. Yeah, that's deductive games for you. Once you've like narrowed down a few things, it gets easier and easier when there's fewer things you have to choose between.
That's the satisfaction.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
except for when the game tells you that you suck. Because that's what it told me at the end.
It's like riding a sled. It was like
you suck.
You slog your way up a mountain, and then once you get to the top of the mountain, which is the halfway point, then you can toboggan all the way down to the bottom with a nice, satisfying, fast go.
And then the mountain says, lame attempt, because that's what the Obra Dinn did to me, which, by the way, I agree is a brilliant and beautiful and wonderful game that I felt really bad after playing it because it told me I sucked.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you fucked something up.
Oh, yeah. I am not the smartest person in the world, but you don't have to tell me that, game. I paid you money.
Peter Parker SL gives $5. Says, slightly off topic, back to the discussion of baby's first gaming. As a challenge, can you make an intro to gaming guide without using Nintendo games?
Well, the thing with Nintendo games is that they are overtly designed for children. So they make really good baby's first games because they're for babies first.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, what would you pick if it wasn't Nintendo? Like Minecraft. I think that's the
and a bunch of games that rip off Nintendo, like Alex Kidd in Miracle World.
We would just choose a bunch of games that came after Mario Brothers that arguably do 2D platforming worse than Mario Brothers. So why?
So yeah,
why?
Why would really low skill floor is what you want. Really low skill floor.
Right.
Nidarom gives $2 and says, how would one describe Kojima games to normies? That would be advanced lessons.
Oh. Yeah, I don't think you would. I don't think you would describe them.
When a mummy Kojima and a daddy Kojima love each other very much, they get certain urges.
And those urges involve drinking Monster Energy drink.
Yes. And pissing all over ghosts.
It's very important to piss on the ghosts because you're carrying packages, you see, and that's important.
Yes. Don't piss on the packages. I made that mistake once.
Don't piss on the packages. Yeah, you just don't. You just don't describe them. Or you describe them in terms of like your favorite so bad it's good movie.
Yes. That's why you don't show Eraserhead as an introduction to film course.
Yeah, right.
Right. People need to know what the movie is first before you can show them The Room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mikhail Manfredo gives $4.99 and says, went for checkup the other day. The doctor tells me I have to quit masturbating. I ask, but doc, why? He goes, well, because I'm trying to examine you. Isn't that my joke? I'm pretty sure I've told that joke on stream more than once.
I don't think that's your joke. I'm sure that is a joke you have told.
No, I didn't make it up, but it's a joke I have told on stream.
I would 100% believe that.
Isn't that a joke I legally own, Desiards?
Yes.
Do I have custody over that joke?
Great artist steal, my man.
This is true. No, yeah.
Tsunami Dusha gives $20 and says nothing, as is his pattern. And then Peter Parker SL comes back with $10 and says, completely off topic, Yahtzee, as a crossword aficionado, how do you feel about fill-ins? People think I'm smart for preferring them, but in actuality, I'm just too stupid for crosswords.
What is
fill-ins, I assume, is a fill-in one of those ones where it's like a crossword, but instead of like the clues telling you what the answers are, it's just all the boxes are numbered and each letter is assigned to a number, and you have to... You're given like one word and you have to guess what the other words are based on that.
Oh, I have no idea.
It's a different way of approaching it. I think that might be it.
I'd prefer crosswords because, as well as showing off my massive vocabulary, I also like showing off my command of trivia.
Yes, that's what makes crosswords so fun, is knowing a bunch of stupid little things.
I like to think of it as mental masturbation. I just like to reassure myself that I'm very clever.
That your brain is ticking over.
You know, when you do the mini in under a minute, that makes your whole day.
A minute.
Under a minute. When you do the
shoot-
mini in under a minute.
I average at 30 seconds. My record is 12.
Oh, very nice.
12 seconds.
You're a much better masturbator than I am.
Thank you. I've heard that from many people. Mikhail Manfredo gives 199 and says, Yahtzee, you're upsetting the orphans. Well, they shouldn't have been so careless as to lose their parents.
Facts.
Yeah, lost the place. Sorry, hang on.
Fox D.
There we go. Fox D gives $5 and says, the N64 controller reminds me of nothing so much as cow tools from that Far Side comic. Intuitive if you have 3 hands. Yeah, Nintendo were always ones to innovate for innovation's sake. I mean, the PlayStation controller was a thing, wasn't it, at that point?
The PlayStation 1 controller. When did the 64 come out in relation to the PS1?
I think the 64 came out first. I believe the controller wasn't a thing. Also, famously, we've spoken about this many times. The N64 controller was designed specifically for Mario 64 to control that one game.
The controllers in like the NES and the Master System and the SNES all embodied the principle that you hold the left side with your left hand and you hold the right side with your right hand.
Yeah.
The PlayStation, by the way, came out 2 years before the Nintendo 64. Yeah.
Wow. I'm learning today.
Didn't have any of this fucking 3-hander bollocks.
But of course, there was no analog stick on the PlayStation controller, and so like Nintendo was like, we need a place of honor. Yeah. We need a big old shaft to put your hand around for this one little thing that you twiggle. Just the shaft and twiggle. The shaft and twiggle.
That's how Yahtzee does the crossword, right?
Still, I played controllers with similar joysticks in the past. Like on the Commodore 64, I used to have like a little thing that was like a thing you held in your hand like this with 2 buttons that you hold with your 2 fingers over and a little twiddly clitoris at the top for the joystick.
Yeah. See, this is why you got to put gamer in your profile. You know how to press those buttons.
There you go. Bookworm776 gives $5 and says, I didn't really play a video game until I was 16, and it was a learning curve. It's a second language that I sometimes still feel a bit alien with.
Yeah.
Who doesn't nag their parents for a video game console when they're 12? You should have gotten on top of that.
Nag harder.
Well, they were a bookworm, dude. They were in them books.
Hey, there's whole games called Bookworm Adventures for bookworms.
Yeah, bookworm.
I like Bookworm Adventures because it's a game it's basically Scrabble, but with a turn-based combat system.
Mm-hmm.
Boggle, rather. Eric Ulsterholm gives $4.99 and says nothing.
Nothing.
Trying to crimp on Tsunami Douche's style. And then Witticism gives $5 and says, is there game training software? Aim trainers have become a thing for sweats. Feels like an even more basic version is an untapped market. No, that's a point.
Game trainer?
There are things. There are programs you can download to help you train your shooting ability for shooting.
You're aiming, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. And it's like click on these boxes as fast as you can.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. Well, games are game trainers, right? If you approach them correctly, games train you how to play them. And then the game themselves is, the best trainer is something that over the course of time tests you in increments so you get better over time. That's just a game.
Yeah,
right? Like
basically.
The game is just testing you over and over and over until completion.
Geldon Yetic gives $5 and says, Azuma's introduction to video gaming. You must watch an advertisement every 5 minutes and enter daddy's credit card number when he's not looking.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that.
Get off your smartphones, you fucking screen-addled kids. Play a real game with a controller like your daddy.
It's never going to happen.
Nope.
Or why not both? They'll play on their phones. They'll play on the controllers. It'll be both.
I did that yesterday. I'm on a big card game fix. And I was playing Magic on my screen. And then the person I was playing against was taking too long to take their turn. So I opened my phone and I was playing another card game. Playing two at once.
That is sick. That is sickening. You gotta take your temperature, because that is like
I gotta take a fucking shower, dude. That's what I do. Those are my dating profile was I play 2 card games at once and lose both games.
And look what you got out of it.
Yeah.
You got Ludo.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh.
Alex Armstrong gives $5. Says, until I was a teen, I sucked at precision platforming. I just held right and hoped I won. That's why I never got past the second zone of every 2D Sonic game. Well, that's basically how Super Mario Brothers trained you to play it.
Mm.
You just hold right and press jump.
Basically. Until, you get to something like Sonic or like a Super Meat Boy. Yeah.
Super Meat Boy. Sonic is the epitome of hold right until you either win or hit a spike.
Yeah.
Right. Like.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Fox D gives $5. It says, I think we overstate the confusion of WASD. I explained it to a non-gamer co-worker as it's where your left hand goes naturally, and she grokked it.
Grokked it?
Yeah, that's like, isn't that like old hippie slang for understand?
I've never heard that phrase in my entire life.
Well,
it's really interesting that in the sentence that they were like, hey, it's really simple to understand this thing. They used a word that none of us can understand.
I understand what grok means.
Yeah, but
you understand all words, Yahtzee.
No, that's fair.
You understand a ton of bullshit that no one else understands.
Fungus Finder gives $2. It says, that Put Put Zoo hot chocolate looked so tasty. Yes, we've fired off some nostalgia cylinders by referencing those games.
Ooh, well, there you go.
Some kids just grew up on them. They're all on...
I'm waiting for Eric to show it. I'm so upset, Eric.
They're all on Scum VM now, I think.
Mm.
And there we go.
Beautiful. Why has it got like a handle, like a bucket?
Because you're a cow who doesn't have hands. And you have to like grip things in specific ways.
But if he doesn't have hands, how is he going to grip the handle? What the fuck?
He had these sort of telescoping limbs that came out of his back.
I don't like it. I don't like it. Move on.
And Pike gives $5. Says, love seeing y'all argue without seeing obvious middle ground between your 3 points. Just list gaming / movies on a profile alongside other hobbies.
Ooh.
Who's got time to read all of that?
Do you know how fast they swipe away? You got to get that attention. Get that attention.
Got to start arguing immediately.
I like video games. I also like... Too late.
Did I mention Dungeons and Dragons? Wait, where are you going?
Here, Pyro gives €2. It says, has Jack tried the one-handed Hex Evo controller?
I'm part of their early access program. I have given them money and waiting for the first production samples. Very excited to try it out.
Oh, I haven't seen this.
As I'm a big fan
you describe
of it's very similar to I have an earlier version of one. So it's basically like a hefty nunchuck, like for the Wii. But it is an analog. Ooh, thank you, Eric. There it is. So it's an analog stick and some buttons that you use in your left hand, so you can still use a mouse with your right hand for first-person shooters and the like. So you get all of the benefits of a joystick for movement, but all the benefits of a mouse for aiming. So it looks.
And is it like a Kickstarter
really
thing? Because the thing there, I'm on their website and it looks like it's like a 3D printed.
Yes, it is. It is
prototype.
I want to say they Indiegogo'd, and since they sent out some initial prototypes, the founder has had lots of personal tragedies that has halted production. the nature of those personal tragedies, or the truth of them, is one of those, like, I really hope, I don't want to say I hope they're true, but like, he also just could be lying to buy time and run away with all of our money. So,
well, we'll see. That if it's a good product at the end of the day, it's a good product.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I mean, that happens so often. There's a name for it now. They call it the rug pull.
Yeah, but it's, as someone who is a giant fan of these like PC one-handed controllers, so you can get the best of both worlds, it looks like one of the better ones that has come out there. So I'm very excited to try it, assuming it does come out.
I haven't tried one, but I don't like a controller that has me use fingers beyond my index, because you start losing dexterity more and more as you go down.
Agreed.
Like, I know some people have use their middle fingers to press like the controller triggers. I don't. I just use my index to switch from back and forth.
Agreed.
Okay, so you don't keep like your index on the bumpers and then your middle.
Oh no, that's so gross.
No.
That is gross. I hate that.
I do this thing. So I do this thing where, like, in Dark Souls, if I want to run, like, I do this like weird grip where I like run like this, so you can move the camera and run at the same time like that.
That's gross. You're a gross.
It is, but I can also run and move the camera, so I'm better than you. So there we go.
Well, my middle fingers just aren't as dexterous. Did you know your middle and ring fingers share a tendon?
Oh, really?
Here's a fun thing you can do. Turn your hand like upside down, like this way.
Okay.
Put it on the desk, and then flex all your fingers in turn. So first the thumb, jingle, jingle, then the index, jingle, jingle, then the middle, jingle, jingle. And a lot of people will instinctively jingle the ring finger when they're trying to jiggle their middle finger as they're doing that.
Yeah, it always goes.
Interesting. It didn't work for me. I was able to jingle them all separately. I'm a freak.
Probably, yeah.
And yet you still can't run and move your camera.
Dr. Theo gives $5. I've heard someone say that gaming is not an art, it's a craft, like food. It still needs to be playable, like food still needs to be edible. Thoughts? I've had a similar thought that I've expressed, in which I state that gaming is more like architecture as an art form, in that there's a lot of room for artistry and aesthetics, but ultimately it can't collapse and kill everyone.
That's a good way of putting it, yeah.
I guess, like, heads up, y'all, sometimes a craft can be an art. They are not mutually exclusive things.
Well, that's why they call it arts and crafts. Like,
damn.
Well, saying arts and crafts implies that they're two different things.
Damn.
Yeah, but they're merged together. You do them together, like you were saying.
But if craft was an art, you'd just say arts. You wouldn't need to say arts and crafts. You'd just say arts.
I would. Okay, here's my bullshit counter argument, which is all art incorporates some sort of craft.
Okay.
Well, I think the thing is, I think Yahtzee fucking agrees. He's just being pedantic about language.
Yes. Well, I am that. I put my hands up to that. Yes, I'm basically trolling you all.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like, yes, it takes craft to make a meal, but there is artistry in that. It takes craft to make a movie, but there is artistry in that. It takes craft to make a game, and there's artistry in that.
All arts are crafts, but not all crafts are arts.
Yes, some crafts are purely utilitarian.
Okay.
Boom.
Well, glad we sorted that out. Peter Parker SL comes back with $5. Says, I had a lovely 7-year relationship with my now ex-wife because I had White and Nerdy by Weird Al as my theme song.
As your theme? What do you mean? You would play it when you walked into the room?
I assume, like, on their dating profile, White and Nerdy.
I see. Yeah.
Well, I mean, congratulations and condolences all at the same time.
If you did have to pick a song as your theme song that played every time you walked in the room, which one would you go for?
Oh, this is a monkey paw. This is a monkey paw wish right here, because you'll love it at first, and then you'll grow to hate it. Because you would have to hear it every single time.
I would go for the opening theme song from Super Jail, because that's the song that's currently stuck in my head.
I've got one. I just need to remember the name of it, just because.
Well, hurry up! Somebody's got places to be.
I'm going to the album. War of Being by Tesseract. The opening to that song is probably the most, like, I'll be on a dog walk and that song can come on, and I am not in any way imposing or badass, but that song makes me feel imposing and badass. So I want that to come on every time I walk into a room, and then people to go, wow, that guy's kind of cringe, but that song's good.
I would choose like a sound effect, like the sound effect from Team Fortress 2 when you unlock a new item and it goes da 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 da. And so it's just like real short and like, I'm here, you're welcome.
Amazing.
Yeah,
fair enough. Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says, thoughts on Ray-Ban's Meta smart glasses, Yahtzee? I haven't seen those. Fine. Yes, they're probably fine.
Yeah, the glasses that have cameras in them that also have AI functionality that you can ask. You can say, "What is this?" and it will just tell you what it's looking at and like record video and stuff.
Well, just to reiterate what I said in my video on VR, I really think AR has the potential to be huge. We just have to have some kind of wearable tech that doesn't make you look like a huge twat, and or that you're very obviously wearing wearable tech.
These Ray-Bans do just look like a pair of Ray-Bans, but if you look closely in the rim here, they've got two tiny pin cameras. Like they look really good.
I'm game. I want a pair. Can I display like a web browser in the corner of my vision and just?
I'm not sure they do that. I think it's a lot of like outward AR stuff. Like it records, it can tell you what it's looking at. It does a lot of stuff with the cameras. It's not necessarily the glass itself.
It does a lot of bullshit that no one wants or asks for. Like, hey, what is this thing I'm looking at? When you can just look it up on the smartphone that's already in your pocket. It's stupid.
I don't want that shit. It's the heads-up display. That's what I want.
Yeah, that's what we all want, and that's what they're not giving us. They all went in on AI bullshit. Stop it.
Fuck.
Wasn't it Children of Men where like all the cars had a sort of heads-up display integrated into the windscreens? That's where you start.
Yeah,
that's the starting point for this tech. We want like integrated heads-up display in our car windscreens, and then we slowly iterate until we can put them on our sunglasses.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Fox D gives $5 and says sim rigs sound like a lot of money for one game until you remember that's often the only game they play for thousands of hours. Yeah, that's the niche. That's how you make money in gaming. You either go for broad appeal or you go for niche appeal. You sell 20,000 units at like $10 each, or you sell one unit at $10,000 each. That's how you make a living.
Yep.
Andre Franco gives 20,000 cops. Oh my goodness, hide the drugs. And says, oh, hey, Jack. Nice seeing you here. Finally got to catch a stream. Keep up the good work, folks.
You did it. Way to go. I'm usually not here, but you did it anyway.
Yes. Andre Franco gives €11 and says, a quick, somewhat random question. What do you folks think about Warhammer 40k as a whole? I refer you to my video on Space Marine 2. I can't be bothered giving a fuller answer than that. Over to you guys.
Mine's weird. Love the IP. Think it's got some really cool storytelling. Hate the company. Hate the fan base. There's like I've never met a fan base that is so gatekeepy as Warhammer fans. Like in all aspects. Obviously, you might be the outlier. That's fine. But like as a whole, super gatekeepy, and then that extends to Games Workshop, price gouging, shitting on fan projects, but also simultaneously whoring out their IP to anyone. So most of their products are garbage. Weird, very weird, very weird.
And I honestly, utterly, truly don't care.
I mean, you're a tabletop guy generally.
Sure. This is beyond. This is like, tabletop gaming is nerdier than video gaming. Warhammer is in its own stratosphere of nerddom, and I do I'm sure there's some cool lore things. I don't care. I think the cost of wading into the lore is not worth any cool bits of lore you'll find.
Fair enough.
Looking like a true Dark Souls fan, as always.
Alex Armstrong gives $5 and says, when playing walking sims, do you prefer talking protags with personalities who offer their thoughts, or silent protags that are just rooms with cameras?
With cameras.
How couldn't I have a preference, Alex Armstrong? I mean, it depends on the game. Stanley Parable's really good. I guess you could say that's got a talking protagonist in it, even though it's not strictly the protagonist who talks.
Yeah. It's always the question with just silent protagonists in general, because it's like, oh, you can project yourself onto the character, but are you though?
Can you though? Yes.
Yeah.
Moving on. Longshanks gives £10 and says, I introduced video games to my partner recently with story-based games first, like Telltale's Walking Dead, Wolf Among Us, and Life is Strange. Now playing Hit Takes Two.
Oh, nice.
Great segue. Yeah.
Ah, yes. Ball and Chain, the game.
But also, what a lovely thing. It's like, hey, let's do something together. I want to, welcome you into my world. And by the way, lovely on both of you. That's great.
Yeah, for sure.
What's that new game by the It Takes Two guys that's coming out soon?
Yeah, the one about his daughters, right?
Yes. And it's going to be
tangentially about his daughters.
And it's going to be another 2-player co-op because that's the only thing this dude makes now, it seems.
Is this it that we're seeing that Eric is showing
This
us?
is it, yeah.
Eric,
I think the two characters are named...
Is what Eric is saying.
Yes, Split Fiction it's called.
The characters are named after the director's two daughters, and the stories within are either stories he told to his daughters or they told to him.
Okay.
I think I could be completely wrong about this. This is just stuff I've heard.
Well,
so
that
don't quote me on that.
That's going to be either very wholesome or very cringe.
They're actually all biblical allegories, and this could be me lying. This could be me making it up because I don't know what any of these games are, but that's what I've heard from my own.
Hey, that's my shtick, dude. That's my shtick.
I know. That's why I was making fun of it.
Extended Club Mix gives $9.99 and says, I wish games was my most complicated hobby. I've got a room full of analog synthesizers that would make any overpowered gaming PC sound like a good deal. I am a moron. A happy moron.
I love it. Fucking analog synth. So good, man. Love that shit.
Happy moron. Hey, as long as you are having a good time, enjoy your hobbies. That's what they're there for. They're there to do not work.
And then monetize them and then start hating them.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Have something that you don't monetize it.
Oh, God. I don't think I even have one anymore that I haven't monetized.
You're just so goddamn successful, Yachts. For fuck's sake, man. If only life was easier on you.
I haven't monetized walking the dog.
Ooh, hold on to that. Hold on. Yeah.
Hey, Patreon exclusive Toffee and Ludo walk vids. They're coming.
Do not. You keep your dogs out of it. Keep those walkies out of it.
Squirtle Squad 420 gives $10. Says hype for the Adventurers Night premiere this week. Have some money for that. I've already seen it.
Me too.
Also,
and yes. Jack.
And by the way, I'm wearing the exact same flannel. And I want to say this is the exact same flannel that I was wearing when we were also watching the season 3 episode while filming season 4, and you made fun of me for wearing the same flannel. I only have 3 of them. I'm sorry, but yes, this Saturday, everybody, brand new full episode of Adventures Nigh. It's going to be great.
I just wear nothing but identical black button-down shirts, so no one can tell if I'm wearing the same one they saw me in last time. BS Marsh gives $5 and says, really looking forward to Adventures Night Season 4. Please have some cash. Oh, yes. Change the bloody record.
No, keep giving us money for Adventures Night. Yeah.
Well, how about you buy a few plushies then if you want to give us money for Adventures Night?
Oh, check it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. I got one. I got mine right here. I'm going to cuddle it.
Oh.
Fox D. Oh, missed one. Alex Armstrong gives $5 and says, I feel nostalgia for gaming eras are different for everyone. By the time I could understand stroke play them, the 2000s had started and I missed out on the 90s.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right. Just wait until the 2010s and then every bloody indie game that comes out is nostalgic for the 90s.
Boom.
There you go.
It comes in waves.
Fox D gives $2. There's my theme song, Dr. Wily Stage 1, Mega Man 9.
Love it.
Oh, my question for that question is how long, like, do you have to listen to the whole song every time you enter a room with another person in it?
Oh, those retro songs go on so long.
You will go crazy.
Well, that was the problem with my choice because the song I picked has a really, really strong opening. And the song's great, but it's also 13 minutes long.
So now, anytime you enter a room with another person, you just have to sit there in silence for 13 minutes.
And it's blaring, so you can't even have a conversation. Like,
if you like retro chip tunes, look up the theme song for Monty on the Run for the Commodore 64, which is a great song, and it goes on for like 8 fucking minutes.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
Theldrum gives €6, says, glad to finally catch one again live. Can't wait for Venturers Nigh.
Dang.
Mortimer can't wait either. See how he jiggles. See how he vibrates with anticipation.
Oh, God, he's dead.
Tsunami Dusha gives $10 and actually says something.
Ooh.
And says, greetings, gentlemen. Are there any games you like within genres you dislike? Day.
I mean, there's always exceptions.
I got into Valheim and having a hard time putting it down, but bounced off Minecraft and Don't Starve. Have a nice week. Well, I in the broad genre of strategy, I enjoy XCOM and FTL Faster Than Light, even though I hate basically every other strategy game.
Yeah. For me, it's like breaking into a genre. Years and years and years ago when I was at like uni, I hated roguelikes and lights. I just didn't like them. I was just like, I don't get it. But then I played Risk of Rain 2 and I loved the loop. And my friend was like, what do you like about it? And I was like, oh, the loop and like all of this. And he was like, that's just what roguelikes are, you twat. Go play all of these other good games. And I was like, I do actually like this genre.
Oh, I get it.
It unlocked
now.
it in my brain.
Yeah. I genuinely dislike walking sims, but really liked Firewatch. Going back to walking sims, the voice acting, the story was wonderful. It was nice and short. I still felt that the gameplay elements were there. I got to choose enough and do enough actually gaming. So that's my example.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the Stanley Parable?
Oh, what a game.
I think that is more than a walking sim. That's out because it's so good. It's outside of the genre.
It's a commentary on games. Like it's
yes.
It's a deconstruction of walking sims, I like to say.
Yeah.
I like to compare it to a Tom Stoppard play. Like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah. Agreed.
See, you knew who Tom Stoppard was when I mentioned the play that was also a film.
Yes, exactly. I know because I know that movie.
Yes.
So there we go.
Yes. One of Gary Oldman's early films. Watch it and see how gorgeous he was when he was young.
He's still gorgeous. You shut up. I would kiss that man on the mouth right now.
Elderly gorge.
But he was in like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. He's got that real like Keanu Reeves boyishness going on.
Yes. Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
King Dead 42 gives $2 and says this could be either true or false. Jamate.
It's true. It's true or false.
Yes, I guess that's a pretty redundant statement. It's like saying this could be interesting when talking about a hype trailer.
Yeah.
And finally, BS Marsh gives $2 and says, I already have all 4 plushies. Well, lardy fucking da. Look at Teacher's Pet over here.
Buy 4 more and gift them to people.
If only everyone was as cool as Beast March. Hint,
Facts.
hint. Lozenge.
Alex is saying I missed some of his questions. Oh, yes, here's one. Alex Armstrong gives $5 and says, found an old but fun game Yahtzee may like. Cyberhook, neon white style, fast-paced platformer with speedrunning, synthwave aesthetics, and a grapple hook. Oh yeah, I think I did play that. I sort of went off it because it didn't really have any context. It was just like complete this platforming challenge. I like the extra spice of having a plot. Because, that's the tertiary loop, what keeps me going.
That was my big, even though like Animal Well was probably my game of the year last year, that was my one criticism of it is the lack of a goal, the lack of context for why you're moving through the Animal Well. It's only important when you get stuck on games, or like when things get boredom, then there's no like extra push.
Yeah. You really hit the nail on the head there with like the getting stuck is like understanding a broad concept of why you're doing a thing can lead you to understanding how to do the thing, right? If you don't know why, then how?
Yeah,
absolutely.
It could be true or false.
Cyberhook looks sick.
Who, what, how, why, where, and all that. And here's another Alex Armstrong I missed. Yeah, I guess you were right, Alex Armstrong. I somehow missed. I get so bored when I see his name come up. My eyes just slide off instantly.
If only he had some Adventures Night plushies, then he would definitely stick out more.
I know, right? But anyway, $2 to say, making money off art is a job, Jack. Yahtzee can attest. I don't think Jack was ever like disputing that.
I make money off of art.
yeah, we all do.
That's kind of like
you gave us money for our art.
Like, I don't know what conversation you got that idea from me, but I am all for people making money off of their art. I think it's great. Give artists money.
Yes, I'm pretty fucking invested in the concept of giving me money.
I gave Yahtzee money to listen to his audiobook. I didn't get that for free. I paid for that.
I know you blue skied about my book over the weekend, and I didn't even ask you to.
We haven't had a chance to talk about it yet, but it's so good. It's so fucking good.
I'm glad you liked it.
I really like, and I was a big fan of Differently Morphous, but I think this is the next level up. So good, existentially challenged. Well, it's on Audible right now, everybody.
I like to think like the sequel should be a next step up. Yes,
so good. So
I'm currently writing the third book in that series.
Yes.
Ooh. It's going to be called, the title I have at the moment is Supposedly Sentient.
Nice.
And it's going to be about mind control as a superpower and exploring that potential in the world of politics.
Ooh.
Because the question that first occurred to me was that what would happen to the law in a society where magic is known to exist and some people have been known to have mind control powers? What if every single person who was accused of a crime could just say, hey, someone mind controlled me to do it? How would you counter that?
Like centering Dita and like more importantly, like our main characters in the Office of Skepticism just phenomenal. Sorry, I'm gonna just gush some more praise before I let you speak. I do apologize. I know I'm interrupting you. You go ahead.
No. You finish your gushing. I was just going to talk about the concept of
I'm enjoying being gushed at.
No, the thing that I enjoyed most while listening, I mean, obviously you're a very good speaker, but the story elements that I really enjoyed listening over the weekend was the fact that almost none of anybody's superpowers played any part in actually solving the crimes. It was like crossing that gap between their superpowers and just being like generally observant as a normal human. And I really liked that gap.
Yeah, I think my idea for Allison as a character was, what if someone had a characteristic that would normally be considered like some kind of super genius characteristic, but weren't actually that smart, and it never actually helped them?
Exactly. And the same with, and I'm terrible with names, but the person who can sense powers And so they were just thrust into this job because they can just see stuff without having to try. What happens if they actually have to try being a real investigator? What a beautiful concept. Yeah.
Well, that's enough gushing about my books. Existentially Challenged, available from all good sources where you get audiobooks and print books right now.
Absolutely.
Also, I've got my most recent book, We'll Leave the Galaxy for Good, still only available as an audiobook. Still waiting to hear back from Dark Horse about the print edition. Maybe go and bug them about it so that they, pull their fingers out. Vactor gives $5 and says, I have a hard time with audiobooks, but I have a harder time waiting for yours to go to print. Cheers. Yes, thank you.
There we go.
Go bug Dark Horse. Don't bug me. I'm bugging as much as one can reasonably expect without alienating all your professional contacts. But if you want to see We'll Leave the Galaxy for Good in print, go bug Dark Horse. And then Fox D comes back with another $5 and says, audiobooks are great. You can't drive a virtual truck with a physical book in your hands. Or indeed a real truck, Fox D.
Or we hope you're not.
I know people who use my audiobooks to get through very long drives.
Mm-hmm.
My mother-in-law
I did
for
over
one.
the weekend. It was great.
Oh, good on you. Right. Well, let's toddle off before anyone gushes at me anymore.
It's happened.
Oh, fuck's sake. Okay, one more. Ham Anarchy gives 100 Norwegian kroner. This is cutting into my lunchtime. I hope you all realise. Jermate, I see your axe hiding away in the corner back there, and I've got a question and one question only. Meshuggah?
Yeah. I fucking love Meshuggah. This isn't obviously a piece from Meshuggah. This is Tim Henson's signature from his line. It's an acoustic. It's very fun to play. It was a gift from Jess. But yeah, I love that shit. Jack, did you ever listen to Polyphia?
I did.
What did you think?
Who fucking cares? We've all got lunches to eat.
Okay, bye everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Windbreakers podcast. Remember to stick around all week for more beautiful Second Wind content, including my usual fully Ramblematic episode this week. This week it's an indie double bill. I will be tackling both The Root Trees Are Dead. Once again, a game graduates from Yahtzee Tries to full-on fully Ramblematic, and pairing it with a bit of Ender Magnolia, the sequel to Ender Lilies.
Ooh, nice. I liked that Ender Lilies.
Yeah, well, if you liked that, you'd probably like Ender Magnolia as well, because it's the same bloody game, but it's in sci-fi world now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I would like that. Okay.
I've been playing that too.
Yeah, I do like the fantasy to sci-fi pipeline. If you can't think of any other way to do a sequel, it's always tried and tested.
Just go to space. Easy peasy.
My Yahtzee Tries compilation will be out this Sunday, and of course my Yahtzee Tries stream on Wednesday afternoon. That's my stuff. Jay, plug your stuff.
It was the first time for Windbreaker where my episode of Design Delve has come out today. So you guys can go check that out right now. It's on the topic of Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. Probably what I think one of the best Metroidvanias where the team got shut down and the reasons for that and such. So you can check that out on all good Second Wind producing platforms, which is Second Wind.
Which is YouTube, I guess.
Yeah, and then this week on DevHeads we have a guest coming on. One of the designers of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is going to be coming on to talk about the production of that game and how that went and stuff like that.
Bugger bum poo.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Yes. So yeah, other than that, we've got a bunch of streams. We've got lots of fun stuff happening as always. Every day on Second Wind. Check out all our shit. It's all good. Jack, take it away.
Yes, Jack.
Ryan Betts, thanks for the $5. Follow up on Yas's gag from last week. Coast Guard Emergency Services bursts into the room. Did someone email us about an island stranding?
Oh, yeah, okay. Thank you, Ryan Betts. Very funny.
I don't understand that, but that's fine.
Just plug Adventurous Knives. We can all go.
Thursday, Liza P stream. Saturday, episode 1, season 4, Adventurous Night. Go watch it. Bye.
Be there or be spare, as in angry because you missed it.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everyone.
Spare. It's a